Most people regret their failures and wish that they had never occurred. However, I would maintain that failures are essential to living a successful life. Let me tell you about one such man who had many such failures in his life. This man failed in business at age 21, was defeated in a legislative race at age 22, failed in business again at age 26, overcame the death of his sweetheart at age 26, had a nervous breakdown at age 27, lost a congressional race at both age 34 and age 36, lost a senatorial race at age 45, failed in an effort to become vice president at age 47, lost a senatorial race at age 47, and lost a senatorial race at age 47. With all those defeats, some people might have told him to stop trying or perhaps regard him as a loser. But finally, this man, when he was 52 years old, was elected president of the United States. Can you guess who it is? If you guessed that that man was Abraham Lincoln, you would be right. Based upon his past blunders, Lincoln had no right to lead our country. However, according to the ChristianCareerCenter.com on June 21st, 2017, his failures may well have been because of his failures that he was able to lead our country at such a difficult time. Most people will claim Abraham Lincoln as their favorite president, and according to Graham Land on August 18th, 2018, in his article for HistoryHit.com, Lincoln is known primarily for his leadership during the American Civil War from 1861 to 1865, and for signing the Emancipation Proclamation, an executive order changing the legal status of slaves to free. Not only can I claim Lincoln as my favorite president, but I've also researched him for presentations and such, and this background has greatly contributed to my capability to telling you why he's one of the greatest presidents to have ever lived. Today I will be telling you about this legend by telling you about his early life, his personality and characteristics, and his accomplishments. Based upon his early life and education, no one would have thought that Lincoln would end up becoming the nation's greatest president. Abraham Lincoln's father was a struggling farmer who worked very hard to get what he could out of the ground that he worked. Although Abe himself considered the family to be poor, he was happy with his life. However, despite the struggles of his family, Abe and his sister were able to go to a school where they learned basic reading and spelling. But something sad happened to him when he was 9. His mother died from what is known as milk sickness. The loss of someone who meant so much to Abe really devastated him. Abe's father found a new wife, however, and she helped to carry on Abraham's education just as his biological mother had. When Abe became older, he took a job as a store and a clerk by day, and by night he read law books and such to educate himself. Besides the very rudimentary basic teaching he received when he was a child, Abe Lincoln mostly taught himself and ended up becoming a lawyer in Illinois. He had no secondary schooling whatsoever and no degree, but because the people in the town trusted him, he still received business as a lawyer. When he was making a business trip to New Orleans one day, he was first introduced to a slave market. He had been familiar with slavery before, but he had never been up close to it as he was then. He decided right then and there that slavery was wrong. Lincoln's education, however, did nothing to hinder his potential as a politician. However, it does beg the question, why did people trust him enough to hold a political office? This question segues into my second point. Abe Lincoln was a people person. Abe Lincoln had an extraordinary wit and was always telling funny stories in an attempt to make people laugh. He had a wonderful sense of humor and a supreme goodness about him that was extremely magnetic. Abe was also extremely extroverted and was always talking to people. He was always trying to figure out what people's beliefs were on certain topics. His fantastic listening skills were probably one of the reasons he was such a great politician, because people knew that he genuinely cared about what they thought. His personality being what it was greatly helped him throughout life and undoubtedly secured him the presidency. His character won him the office, however, his morals dictated his accomplishments. Lincoln changed the future of America in many wonderful ways. The Civil War was the bloodiest conflict in American history, and in a time like that, the nation would not have survived without a strong leader. According to the American Battlefield Trust on March 18, 2019, Lincoln's decision to fight rather than let the southern states secede was not based on his feelings towards slavery. Rather, he felt it was his sacred duty as President of the United States to preserve the Union at all costs. And his first inaugural address was an appeal to the rebellious states, 7 of which had already seceded to rejoin the nation. His first draft of the speech ended with with an ominous message: shall it be peace or the sword? Lincoln didn't want war, but he knew it was necessary to quell the rebellion of the South. Lincoln also brought about the decisive end to slavery through his legal actions during his presidency. His executive order, the Emancipation Proclamation, freed the slaves in the Union. That meant if the Union won the war, the slaves in the former Confederate States would then be freed. However, since executive orders were not permanent, he needed it to be written into the Constitution to be considered legally ironclad. Therefore, he pushed for the 13th Amendment to be passed in Congress so that slavery and involuntary servitude would be abolished except as punishment for a crime. Today I have told you about one of the greatest American presidents to have served. Lincoln's early life was nothing spectacular. He was not a Harvard graduate and mostly educated himself. Also, the trauma he experienced from the passing of his mother could have had the potential to cripple him mentally and emotionally. However, Lincoln was able to overcome all of this and ended up becoming president. He became president largely because of how much he cared for people and because how much they loved and respected him. During his presidency, he was able to carry the nation through one of the biggest struggles of its existence, and he was also able to end the oppressive practice of slavery. Lincoln was not only a hero to his country, but also a hero to me. He inspires me to do my best to overcome the bad situations that I'm confronted with, and to be a better leader to those around me. In closing, I would like to quote the words of Christopher Reeve, who said, "A hero is an individual who finds strength to persevere and endure in spite of overwhelming obstacles." Thank you for your time.